It is ridiculous what these sports journalists are doing to this whole story. They keep pumping it every time they get one of the women's team members in front of them. They're like, what about the terrible men and Trump who made a sexist joke and the guys laughed, without pointing out that those guys were like, yeah, bring them. Absolutely, 2 for 2, right? And Trump made a joke. It was a joke. In any event, it's the sports writers who continue to push this, but also there are now some of the women's team taking the bait. Here is the women's hockey captain, Hillary Knight, who does not seem to be a big Trump fan. Let's see. Here it is, SOT 16. She's getting lots of snaps for this one, Tucker.
No, I just thought the joke was distasteful and unfortunate. And I think, just the way women are represented, it's a great teaching point to really shine light on how women should be championed for their amazing feats. And now I have to sort of sit, and anybody has to sit in front of you and explain someone else's behavior. It's not my responsibility. But what is shifting the focus and shifting the narrative of this amazing accomplishment that we all did together. And granted, the men's and the women's team did it together, and that is super special. It's never been done in our program's history. It's something we're extremely proud about.
Your thoughts?
Well, I feel sorry for that girl being used to divide the country. And that's obviously what this is. And that's what sports journalism is, really. If you want to weaken a country, you divide it against itself. You weaken the people. You weaken their pride in their nation, in themselves, in their ancestors, of course, in the virtues. And sports is the fastest way to the heart of, like, a plurality of American men. And so if you politicize games and use the spectacle in order to force feed the audience propaganda about how their country is bad, their culture is bad, their ancestors were bad, their skin color is bad, they're bad, and they have to be ashamed of themselves and their testosterone, then you've done a lot to weaken the country so you can dominate and control it. I mean, it's the long game. It's been going on a long time. We spend a lot of time talking about the effect of education on our children, and all of a sudden they have these views. You're like, where did you get that? And it's a process of brainwashing people over generations. We spend very little time acknowledging the very same thing has happened with professional sports, the coverage of professional sports. And you know, I mean, there are a million ways that you can see this, but the hatred of men's hockey tells you everything. Yes. It's like the last holdout. We got him, which men's hockey is like overwhelmingly white from rural, cold places. They're not obedient. They don't live near some urban center. They haven't been fully brainwashed. There's a kind of weird freedom there. By the way, they fight. They throw off their gloves and fight.
Yep.
And so we have to emasculate these. Of course they're patriotic, right? They're from like rural Minnesota, not the Twin Cities. They're from Maine. They're from the best parts of Canada, which are still great. And they're from Scandinavia and Russia, and those people are a massive threat. Their spirit is a threat to the country, and so we have to bring them down. And what is all of this? If you are governing your country in a way that the population hates, if you're doing things the population doesn't want, at a certain point, you fear that they're going to, take back control of their country, maybe even physically. And so you have to make sure that the country is weak, riven by division and self-doubt, that the sexes hate each other, that the people who could rise up against you are incapacitated by obesity and marijuana and all kinds of other drugs. Like, you really have to work hard to make sure you neutralize that threat. And I think it's very obvious now. I've felt this for a long time, but now we're at a place where almost nothing the federal government does the public wants. The disconnect between like what they say they're going to do, what they actually do, what people want, and what the government spends their money trying to affect. It's just too wide. It's like it's pre-revolutionary at this point. And so then you sort of look back and you're like, oh, maybe that's why there was a concerted effort to make men, young men, weak, disorganized, and self-hating. And maybe the fastest way to do that would be getting people to, show disrespect to the national flag during football games. Like, maybe that wasn't accidental, because it wasn't, honestly.
I said on the air after, I don't know, it was Monday or Tuesday, that it was bound to happen, this turn on these guys. It's really not about the Trump phone call or Kash Patel being in the locker room. It's about the fact that they're white men who are unapologetically patriotic and aggressive, full of testosterone. Like you said, they fight, they go out on the ice, they're like unapologetically bold in their testosterone, which is a massive turnoff to a certain sector of the country, especially these far left women. And no sooner had I said it than later that day, this hit. It's just one video, but man, she calls it out outright. Look at this woman.
I do love that we all loved heated rivalry. I do think it did a little bit of damage because I think that we all kind of like maybe collectively forgot that like hockey is one of the most, if not the most, conservative sports with the most conservative fan base. Like, this isn't anything new. I would say it's comparable to golf or lacrosse, but like, here's the thing, okay? Hockey, I don't know if you guys have seen like the USA national team. Everybody's white. Everybody on the team is white. Everybody affiliated with the team is white. All the coaches are white. Like, there is not a lot of people of color in that space. And like a huge draw to hockey is it's violent. Like, you are encouraged to be violent. Like, the fans love to watch the violence. The players love to enact violence. Like, what type of ideology do you think a white man that comes from insane amounts of wealth for his entire life that like has these violent tendencies, what type of ideology do you think that they lean towards? Like obviously they were on the phone with Trump making fun of the women's team because that's what violent, rich white men do. Like, that's what their favorite thing to do is to like make fun of women and shit on women that are doing the same thing, if not better than they are. And they were all creaming in their fucking pants because they were on the phone with their dad. Like, it's so, like, I don't know.
I appreciate her saying it out loud.
Yeah. It's so sad. You look at that girl with the tattoos on her hands and the I hate myself haircut, and you just see such a tragically broken person, but you also see in miniature the state of the country. The breakdown of relations between young men and young women is the worst thing that has ever happened to the United States, worse than any war we've ever had. It's the worst thing. And its products, its effects are low birth rate, like people are not coming together and having children, marriage rate in full collapse, and the radicalization of both young men and young women. The young men are becoming terrifyingly right-wing. I agree with them basically, but still, they're very, very intensely politically aware. I meet them all the time in airports. They're like calling for an ethno-state, like they're mad. Mm-hmm. And the women are their polar opposite. They are like the young woman you just showed. They're angry, but in reverse. They're like, they've embraced the most nihilistic, atheistic, left-wing politics imaginable. And they're pro-violence. They're the ones who cheered Charlie Kirk's murder. Mm-hmm. So like that is the building block of civilization, is young man, young woman come together, form an alliance, enduring lifelong with each other, out of which flows the next generation of your citizens. Like, that's the whole thing. Marriage is the whole thing. It's not just like some social issue that, no. That is civilization. And when that breaks down, so does your civilization. And it's just the saddest thing I can imagine.
International disputes, inflation, rising national debt, digital currency. There's a never-ending list of reasons gold has risen over 700% in the last 20 years. And a never-ending list of reasons smart Americans diversify a portion of their savings into precious metals with Birch Gold Group. Gold can thrive during uncertainty, which is why it's a crucial part of a balanced financial strategy. It gives you peace of mind, given all the events that could impact the U.S. economy. See if holding gold in a tax-sheltered retirement account is right for you. Birch Gold can help you convert an existing IRA or 401k into an IRA in gold. Just text MK to the number 989898 to receive your free info kit on gold. There's no obligation, just useful information. With an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau and tens of thousands of happy customers, consider letting Birch Gold help you diversify with gold so you too can have peace of mind, regardless of the uncertainty. Text MK to the number 989898. I mean, there's an unhealthy dose of crazy there. It used to be, like back when I went to school, if you had a Jack Hughes, the hero, one of them, of the men's hockey team, all over your TV screen with the American flag draped around him and new 3 teeth now missing or sliced, smiling and talking about how much he loved America, virtually every young girl in America would fall in love with him. I mean, he's a good looking kid too. So it's like virtually every 18 to 24-year-old girl will be saying, is he single? How do I meet Jack Hughes? Only today do we have probably a majority of these crazy loons being like, I hate him. I hate his white skin. I hate his hockey affiliate. I hate his patriotism, and lying that he and the others come from some massively wealthy background. Jack's parents are all into hockey. The whole family's into the hockey business. They're not making huge tons of dough. The mom's like a consultant to the women's hockey team. The dad worked at a university for a time. My dad worked at a university. We were not rich, trust me. It's a lie. Most of them tend to be working class heroes.
But you wonder if it's about hockey. I mean, if you were to ask that young woman, I hope you can interview her maybe, does she know what hockey is?
I don't think she's a fan.
How many touchdowns in hockey until you win? Like, she doesn't know. She doesn't know anything about it. She's not mad at hockey. She's mad at her dad. And she's mad at the boys who she had failed relationships with. And she's mad at society because it's made it impossible for her to do the thing that every person deep down wants more than anything, which is to procreate and to love your own children. And like, she kind of knows that's not going to happen for her. A lot of young people know that, and they're really distressed by it. And why wouldn't they be? So if you fix that, by the way, have you ever met a happily married woman in your life, happily married woman who has those politics? I've never met one. I mean, maybe there are.
No,
I don't think they exist.
No.
Right.
No. I mean, honestly, if you have a positive relationship with your dad, you'll wind up picking a positive relationship in a marriage.
Exactly.
You will pick a guy who will treat you respectfully, love you, and have a great, healthy life in every way. And then you won't run around hating men. Like, your interactions with men are positive.
Exactly.
You'll raise strong boys. Like, all of it is self-fulfilling. But meanwhile, now we have this. So the women declined to go to the White House go to the Washington for the State of the Union. And they had good reasons for that were stated. But now we're starting to see some of these women come out in these interviews, baited by the press, owning the fact that they clearly don't like Trump. No one's shocked. They're in the right demo to hate Trump. Even it seems like the sort of overwhelming patriotism of the men's team didn't necessarily translate over to the women's team, though that may be unfair. They may be patriotic. They may just hate Trump, but they are starting to say negative things about Trump. It's like, okay, now's not the time. Like, just say, oh, it was a joke, lighten up. That's all you should say. Because by participating in what the press is doing, they're also crapping on their own moment, and they're crapping on the guys' moment. And the guys were in there defending them. The guys they didn't come up with that joke. And the joke was so mild. Like, hockey players are tougher than this. They're just pretending not to be. But now you have the team apparently getting ready to go out to Vegas to party with Flav, who, as it turns out, is not a paragon of virtue when it comes to his relations with women. His criminal record suggests strongly he really enjoys beating them. So I'm just not sure that the guy with the slightly off-color joke in the locker room is less preferable than Flav, who likes to punch women in the face. But here is the Team USA's Alex Carpenter on Wednesday after a game she just played, South 13.
Back in season now, but are you planning to go to Vegas and hang out with Flavor Flav? What was that invitation like to receive that?
Yeah, I've been messaging him a little bit here. He's probably my most texted person right now, but yeah, I think it was definitely super special, after everything that's been going around online, to be able to, have someone step up like that and really go to bat for us. And I think, obviously finish our seasons up here. And then I think we're fully going to take advantage of that and go have some fun and celebrate like we deserve to.
Amen.
Just FYI, Tucker, 2021, Flav arrested for misdemeanor domestic battery, later dismissed after he pleaded guilty to a lesser charge of misdemeanor coercion. Via People magazine, he allegedly grabbed a woman, poked his finger in her nose and face, grabbed her and threw her to the ground, allegedly grabbed a phone out of her hand. 2012, arrested for felony assault with a deadly weapon and misdemeanor domestic violence for allegedly chasing and threatening his fiance's 17-year-old son with a knife. In 2014, pleaded guilty to reduced charges of misdemeanor attempted battery. 93, served 90 days in prison for shooting at a neighbor. 93, fired an unlicensed handgun at a neighbor in front of the Bronx home. 1991, served 30 days in jail after pleading guilty to assaulting his girlfriend. We could go on. I'm just thinking, the mild joke in the locker room versus this, it's an individual choice, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to be too blunt, but I don't think Flav is making these decisions. He's the Epstein of this scenario here. I mean, this is, of course, an op, obviously, to divide the country, men from women, to weaken. This is the story of the entire country for the last 60 years, at least. So, Flav. I mean, and these poor girls, I don't think they have any idea. Right, they're pawns too. Everyone you're watching on television is just another creature crawling around the ant farm, totally unaware that they're, pawns in the hands of others toward a greater purpose, and the greater purpose is to divide the country from within so it can be controlled. Obvious. It's so obvious to me, and I only understood this when I spent more time abroad and watched the way things work in other countries where they're less sophisticated and they don't have a media infrastructure that's as good at lying as ours. Things are way more out in the open because human nature doesn't change country to country. People are just fundamentally the same because they're all created by God. And you see this in every country around the world. Divide the population so you can control it. And then you come back to this country that's what's going on. No wonder we're telling people to be fat, that it's beautiful to have type 2 diabetes or whatever, because you're trying to weaken them, of course.
But who is doing it?
Well, I think, the most powerful people in the world obviously are the richest. So the biggest companies have the greatest incentive to take control. They're the biggest shareholders. If you think of the United States or the West or the world itself as a company, which is not a crazy way to think of it, a publicly traded company, as in any publicly traded company, the people with the biggest say are the biggest shareholders. So if you own the most stock, you have the most votes. And so I think of it that way. So COVID, for example, who won during COVID? Well, the biggest companies. Amazon won. The big box retailers, where for some reason it was impossible to transmit COVID indoors, but only in a big box retailer. But in a mom and pop store, it was incredibly dangerous. What's that? And they became stronger, more powerful. The online retailers became the strongest and the most powerful, but more powerful even than they were the digital media companies, Amazon, Facebook, etc. They became the most powerful because that's the only way people could communicate. And they were simultaneously the same people enforcing the COVID restrictions that they benefited from. So that's just, and I'm only bringing up COVID because it was the most obvious example of this. So if you break apart families and you destroy the loyalty between husband and wife, which they've definitely done, what do you get? Well, you get employees who are much more flexible, much more willing to give more of themselves to the company. You get more obedience is what you actually get.
Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.